start sitting up on some height. And wherever you are with that, we're going to do 2 more full rounds with that breath. And then once you finish that second round, you're going to let go of the count and put a little bit more attention into your posture. So pull the shoulders back and lift up from the top of your head. And then find the breath again and breathe. Imagine that the breath is breathing down. Inhale, breathes down into the pelvic bowl, into the sides of the rib cage, into the sides of the waist, but then the exhale lifts you up taller. So we're reversing what we usually do. Usually we breathe into our shoulders and we get tense up in our shoulders and our upper body, and then we exhale, we slump forward, right? Let's reverse that. So instead of inhaling up and exhaling down, we're reversing it. We're inhaling down, and then we're exhaling up. All right, and from there, we're going to start to move a little bit. So staying where you are. We're going to keep our eyes closed, but take your right hand behind your back onto the floor, and then take your left hand onto your left knee and twist over to your right side. And then we're going to go the other way. So take your left hand over to your, right hand over to your left thigh, left hand behind you, and twist over to that side. And then come back to the center, and depending where you are, you're going to roll over your body in front of you. So we'll open our eyes, roll forward, come into all fours, and then tuck your toes under, lift your hips, and come into a downward facing dog. And make this a nice soft downward facing dog today. So just nice soft knees. You can even take the legs really wide. And then just move side to side. Hips are moving side to side. Chest moves back towards your thighs. And then bring your knees down, come into a child's pose. Exhale, come forward. Push that right elbow down, left elbow down onto the floor, and even bend your arms and let the forearms come down to the floor. So a lot of times we practice this as a active child's, meaning the elbows are raised, the arms are working. This time, really let the arms go and let the head come down. Breathe in and out and expand the back as you breathe in. And then exhale, breathe out. And then let's tuck our toes under, come back up. Downward facing dog. Pedal those feet out. Bend one knee, bend the other knee. Let's reach that left heel down, reach that right leg up to the ceiling, open it up, bend that knee. If you had someone next to you, you could tap them with that right toe. And then you could even move the right knee around in the right hip socket. That right thigh is moving around in the right hip socket, and then straighten it up. Just going for that nice back of the left leg stretch. And then put it down. So nice and easy, everything nice and easy today. All right, other side. So left leg's opening up. And we're moving that thigh around in the hip socket. And then reach that leg up. And then lift it up to the ceiling more, push, reach that right heel down. And then put that foot down. And start to walk your feet to meet your hands and your hands to meet your feet. Maybe middle of the mat. And then just sway side to side when you get there. Straighten and bend the legs. You can take opposite elbows with the arms and let that arms act as weight so that it pulls the spine down towards the floor, neck is long. And then let's take our hands to our hips, scoop the belly in and lift up, come up with a flat back. And bring your hands to your heart center. We're gonna do a few just half sun salutes. So inhaling the arms down and all the way up. Exhaling the hands out to the side and then come forward all the way over the legs. Inhale to a flat back, look forward. And exhaling into the legs. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. And bring the hands to the heart center. We're gonna do 5 of those. My legs are really wide today. That kind of more gentle, restorative Tadasana. Inhaling arms all the way up. Exhaling, coming all the way down to the floor. Inhale to a flat back. Keep the neck long, look forward. Exhaling back into the legs. And then inhale, come all the way up. Bring the hands to the heart center. And let's keep going. 3 more. Inhaling up. And I'm going to let you guys go on your own now. So I'm going to stop talking. 3 full cycles of this. Push into the feet, come all the way up to stand on your last one, and we'll meet in a Tadasana. Bring your hands to your heart center. So if you're still going, don't worry. We'll all meet at in the middle or front of our mats. Okay. All right. We're going to do 1 just to come down to the floor. So let's inhale all the way up. Exhaling all the way down to the floor. And this time, let's take our right leg back behind us and come down, bring the right knee down to the floor. We're going to move around in that left hip socket so you can kind of just stretch, move around, and then go the other way. Good. And then from there, let's straighten through that left leg, reach that left toe back and come into our runner's stretch here with a nice hamstring opening. So pull the left hip back, pull those left toes back, and then just let your head release over that leg. You can even, if you want to make this super restorative and relaxing, you can even take a block or a couple blocks and take your head down towards something and just release and sit there for a few breaths. It's not completely restorative, right? But always great to put your head down on something. We'll stay there another 3 breaths. If that back toe tuck starts to hurt, you can untuck the back toe and come back. All right, we're going to come back forward over that front leg. Move your props away if you've put any props there. And then just step into a downward facing dog and make this a nice, easy dog. So we're going to have nice wide feet, And we're gonna keep bending the knees. Lift the ribs away from the floor. And then let's lift that right leg up to the ceiling and then bring your right knee between your nose and put the foot between your hands, but then immediately put your left knee down on the floor. So again, you can have your props here. Just straighten through that right leg. Pull the right hip back. You can flex or point that front leg. And then you can keep that back leg tucked under, or the back toes tucked under, or you can always just release it and come onto the top of the foot, whatever's more comfortable. So today's just about comfort and ease. So whatever feels easy. Okay, you can put your head down. Keep pulling that right hip back and then keep pulling the hips back. So sit down or come forward as much as you want in this. Two more breaths here. And then we're going to come forward and let's step into our nice, easy downward dog again. So put the hands down on the floor, stepping back into our downward dog. And then bend through the knees. And then we're going to come into a pigeon pose. So take your left knee forward and go ahead and put the shin down on the floor. So we ended with this one last week. You can take a block or a bolster or a roll-it mat and put it under that left hip if your hip is still pretty high up in the air. If it's pretty close to the floor, then you don't need to prop yourself up. Left shin is going to be working towards coming parallel. And the main thing is this back leg, you don't want it turned out. You want it turned under. If you have a wall to push against with that back leg, that would be amazing. So I'm trying to make it look like my back foot is pushing against something. And it's very straight, and I'm trying not to sickle. I'm trying to be pretty straight with that leg. So we don't want to be here. We want to be there, okay? And if you're way up here, then you're going to put something right there under that hip. Okay, so we're going to come into that for a little while. So get yourself comfortable. Good 10 breaths or so, good couple minutes. So, or good minute or so. So we're going to take our block in front of us just in case we want to put our head down, or we can bring our head down to the floor all the way. And then find yourself a nice comfortable position and then just let go. And find your breath in the pose. Feel the lungs expanding on your back so you can feel the rib cage on the back getting wider and then contracting. You can also send the breath into that area where you're holding tightness around that left hip. So that could feel more the side of the hip, it could feel more in the lower back, but send some inhaling that direction, create space there. Take 3 more long breaths on the left side. And then start to bring yourself back up to sit. Pull that heel in a little bit closer in towards the groin. And then we're gonna bend that back right leg. And take your right arm forward and see if you can just take hold of the foot and give yourself a little bit of a quad stretch on the right side. And that also should open up that the front of the right shoulder. All right, we're gonna release there. Tuck that toe under, and then step yourself back to your downward facing dog and pedal the feet out there. And feel the heels reaching down to the floor, opening up the backs of the calves. Then we're going to take that right leg forward, the right knee comes forward. Same thing on this side. So we're turning that left leg under. You can tuck that back toe or release it, but either way, the back leg is very parallel. You're not sickling that foot in. And now we're going to come forward. So if the right hip is way up, you're going to prop it up with the block. And then you can get to come forward into your restorative. So bringing that head down onto something. So whether it's a block, something, you just don't want to be having to prop up your head, worrying about it with your hands, right? So let it relax. So whether you're here, your head on something, whether you're down on the floor or kind of raised up slightly on a block, go ahead and let go. Sending the breath into that tight spot. So it might be a different space here. It might be more the lower back instead of the hip. Four more deep, long breaths here. And then go ahead and push yourself up to sit. And we'll do the same thing we did on the other side. So we're going to bend that left leg in, reach the left hand forward, and maybe take hold of that left foot, pull it in, stretching the front of the shoulder and pulling the left heel in. And again, trying to keep that parallel position so the hips are square to the front rather than I think we all tend to do this, right? So we want to keep it forward. Just breathe into the front of the shoulder, breathe into that quad. All right, release that. One more downward dog here. Tuck those toes under, come back in your downward dog. And then we're going to walk our feet forward and just bring your knees down towards the floor. And you're not going to like me, but we're going to come into a foot stretch because I think we all can use it once in a while. So sitting back on your heels, our toes are tucked under. We're going to sit back. We're going to stay. Breathe through it for 30 seconds. So this is one I taught a breathe and distress course when I was still living in London. And I use this as an example of putting a stressful situation, this pose. So if you hate it, you're not alone. And I always say it's much easier in Santa Cruz to do this than it was in London where we wore heels and walked around the city. And here where we barely wear shoes, it's not so bad. All right, so send the breath into that wherever you're feeling it. You might be feeling it everywhere. It might be too hard to figure it out. But for me specifically right now, I'm feeling it in the right sole inner right arch with my right foot. So I'm sending my breath there. And I'm releasing. As I exhale, I'm trying to release that tightness. This is the most work we're going to do today, I promise. 10 more seconds. Keep breathing. All right, come forward onto your hands. Untuck those toes. Whew. Move them around a little bit. Okay, we're going to come back in for 5 seconds. That's all. Tuck the toes under, come back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, come out. Okay, release that. You don't have to do it again. You should do it again. You should do it every day, but you don't have to do it again right now. Get some kind of prop, whether it's your blocks or your pillows or your mat. And we're going to sit between our feet in a virasana. So this would be, this is Rajasana. So this is, we're sitting on our, this is rock pose. So we're sitting on our heels. So virasana is hero's pose. We're going to sit between our heels. Okay, so our thighs are rolling in towards one another. I'll show you from the front. So the really nice way to get into it is to lean forward on your hands, take your hands, your thumb into your right calf, and then try to actually make space between your calves for your body to sit back. And then you do the same thing on the left. So you kind of pull the calves apart and create space. And if sitting down on the floor is too much on your knees, you're going to take a block and sit up on your heels. We did this last week, I think. We're going to do this one just sitting. If you are super comfortable here, this is like a no-brainer for you. Your legs inwardly rotate really easily, and you want to keep going with it. And you're warm, because the thing is, we haven't done a lot. You know, this is in a gentle class. You could actually start to come back onto your forearms and then eventually lie all the way down. Okay? I'd rather you not be on height if you're going to do that. I'd rather you be someone who's sitting all the way on the floor and lying down. And that can feel good if you're that person who could do that, right? Otherwise, we want this to be restorative. So otherwise, we're just going to make it nice and easy and just sit. Okay? You can even come to lean back against a wall. So go ahead and sit there. If you have any pressure on your knees that doesn't feel right, then you can always squeeze the shins together to take weight off the knees, okay? Or you can put another block under you and go a little higher, okay? So you can be really high. Now I'm super high. All right, go ahead and close the eyes. And come into the breath, wherever you are. So make sure that you're pulling your shoulder tips back, lifting up from the top of the head, getting long on the top of the head, and then really sit into those sit bones. And you guys are all Pilates people, so pay attention to not coming into that posterior pelvis tilt. Stay in that neutral pelvis so that the femurs are moving back into the hip sockets and you're not shoving those hips forward. Take a few more breaths here. We're going to come forward, open the eyes, come forward onto your hands and knees, and then take your left leg back and tuck that left toe under. So you stretch out the back of the foot, and then reach the right leg back, stretch the foot. And then we're going to come on to, let's come into a back bend first before we do any more leg work. So if you have a block, great. If not, don't worry. We're going to come onto our back, push your feet into the floor, soles of the feet onto the floor, push the shoulders down to the floor, and then start to hinge the hips up into a half wheel. We're going to interlace our fingers underneath our back, push the forearms into the floor. If you have a half wheel, you're either going to stay here, if you don't have a block, you're going to stay here, push the forearms into the floor, and keep lifting the hips up, and try to keep the inner thighs moving down so you're not overworking the glutes. Squeeze the thighs together, keep pushing into the feet and lifting up. Okay, if you have a block, you can take your block and put it on a low, highest, or highest height and come into the more restorative version of the pose. If you don't have a block, you might feel the need to go up and down a few times, and that's okay, so that it doesn't become too much work, okay? But it can feel kind of restorative if you just kind of try to relax into it here with the arms down. Inner thighs moving down. Push the chin up, the chest up towards the chin, and just breathe. Okay, a lot of us don't have blocks, so I won't leave us there super long. Just a few more breaths. And then start to lift the hips up. Exhale, roll the chest down towards the floor, all the way vertebra by vertebra. Move the hands out of the way and then come onto your back. All right, from there, we're going to take our strap or our sweatshirt or our towel, and we're going to bend our right knee in, and left leg's going to be long on the floor, right knee's going to pull in. And one of the things we do in restorative is we kind of mimic regular standing asana class. And so we're going to do a couple of we'll get all our leg work done here instead of coming into standing poses. So take your strap around the ball of your right foot, and then reach the inner thigh and the heel up towards that ceiling, and then keep that left leg active on the floor. My leg is flexed. I'm in this weird spot here, so it's hard to see. You can't see my left foot right now, but it's flexed to keep it active. And then I'm going to pull down on either side of my belt, push the right hip down to the floor, reach the right heel up to the ceiling. So back of my right hip is pushing to the floor. And then as you exhale, you might move that foot towards your face a little bit more. You don't have to, but you might decide to go for a little bit of a deeper stretch. But I'm still trying to keep the back of my right hip down. That's where the kind of work is. And keep breathing. All right, from there, take both sides of the strap into your right hand and then let that right leg fall out to the side, but keep the left leg super active. So you're coming into the straddle, but it's controlled. Your stability is with that right leg, right? So we've done this one standing on our left leg and it's more a balanced pose. This time we get to just enjoy the stretch, but we're stabilizing with that left leg. Keep breathing there. Keep pulling that right hip down so it's not creeping up. And then we're going to inhale, let that right leg come back up to the center. And this time we're going to take the straps into the left hand, let the right arm fall out to the side, and then cross the right leg over the body. This becomes almost like a twisted triangle, a twisted triangle pose. So if you can imagine we're standing, what this would look like if we were standing up, right? We'd be in that pyramid pose and then we would twist our bodies over to the right side. And keep pulling that right hip back towards the ceiling, back towards the hip. Right thigh moves back to the right hip. Take one more breath in. And then bring it back up towards the center. And then this time push the back of the hip down to the floor and then let that right leg come a little closer to the face. All right, release the strap from the leg. Reach it up to the ceiling and then exhale as you bring it down towards the floor. And then just lie with it for a second. Close your eyes. And then just notice the difference between the legs. If there's no difference, that's fine. But notice it, just notice. We're going to bend our left leg in. And then stabilize that right leg. So flex the right foot, engage the right thigh, bend the left knee up into the chest, take the strap, put it around that left arch, metatarsal arch, pull both sides of the strap down, and then pull that left thigh back in the left hip and really root the back of the left hip into the floor. Push that right thigh down to the floor. All right, and then a little bit of a stretch if you want it, pulling the left toes towards the face. Keep breathing. And then bring it back up to center. All right, we're gonna take both straps into that left hand, right hand onto the right hip, under the right thigh. Let the left leg fall out to the left side, but stabilize with the right leg. So that right leg is like your tree trunk, and the left leg is that branch flowing in the wind. It's not gonna fall off, it's not gonna break off because the roots and the trunk are so strong. Keep pushing the right hip into the floor. Extend the left heel into away from the body. And then inhale that left leg back up to the ceiling. And then switch both straps in the right hand and then let it come over the body into that Pavrito Trikonasana, twisted triangle pose. And then this one, the right leg is a little bit interesting here. We're trying to keep it parallel, but as it gets a little bit funky, let's kind of play with it. And it'll feel different on each side. You might feel some interesting stuff going around in the left hip, left lower back. Keep breathing. All right, bring it back to the center. Pull those left toes towards your face a little bit. Release the strap off the leg. Reach the left leg away from you, and then exhale. Bring it all the way down to the floor. And then just release onto your back for just a couple breaths. All right. From there, we are going to come into a little bit more of an intense back bend. So bend over to your right side and come up to sit. And grab your blanket or your rolled up mat. It's not that intense actually, because we're not using a huge height. So I've got my trusted extra yoga mat, which can be used for anything. I don't know if you guys scored any of those props that Dominique was selling, but I'm pretty sure she had a lot of yoga mats. I don't know if everything's gone or not. You might still be able to go pick something up. So extra yoga mats. I think she had blankets, yoga blankets too. Okay, so we're rolling our mat or our extra blanket or our blanket. It could just be an Afghan from the couch. I mean, traditionally we use the Mexican blankets, which I actually don't have at home, but I find this works really well. So a foam roller is too thick for this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this one from the side, but then what I want you to do is put your feet on a wall, preferably up on a block to do this, okay? But I'm going to show you from the side because it's a hard one to show. I'm going to take the rolled up mat slash blanket slash whatever you have, and it's going to go under, kind of right under my shoulder blades. And this is a little bit Princess and the Pea. You're going to have to just decide what works for you. My children changed the setting on my Zoom so that it's opposite of what it should be. So it's reversed the side that I'm on, and that's why I keep adjusting and looking. So it makes no sense. Anyway, okay, here we go. So if I look like I'm moving back and forth a lot, that's fine. I can't figure out where I am. All right, so it's underneath, it's slightly underneath my shoulder blades. My shoulders are rounding back onto the ground over it, and my arms are above the yoga mat. So the mat's here. I think my yoga mat's the same color as my sweatshirt, so it's hard to see. Let me take my sweatshirt off. There we go. So you should be able to see that my arms are, you see my arms are above it. So I'm here. Then my legs, I would like them to be very, very straight and strong here, right? The easiest way to get them that way is to actually push them against a wall, okay? I don't have, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll move you guys. So I'm gonna move it so you can see me against my door. So let me do that over here. Hid out in my room today, so nobody could bother me teaching you guys. Let me see if I can show you this way. So it's gonna look like when I'm full in the pose, from the head, it looks like this. So spend a little time getting into this one because it feels amazing once you're in it. Once your feet are on the floor, so my feet are really against a wall like that, right? You can also ideally, take a block and have your legs on top of the block here. There, okay? So that's where you're gonna be. So go ahead and set yourself up. And then feel free, if you have any questions on this one, to hit your space bar and talk to me. So the main thing is that we're opening up that around the shoulder blades. Your tailbone is neutral. It's on the floor. So this is definitely an upper back bend, not a lower back bend. And you're trying to not, the reason to have your feet on the wall if you can, is so that the legs don't splay out. So that you've got this nice neutral rotation of the thigh, not out, not in. And then start to find the breath again. So take a deep inhale in and exhale. And start to bend the legs and walk the feet back. And then when the knees are bent, roll over to your right side very gently. And then use your left hand to push yourself back up to sit. We'll do one forward bend and then we'll come into Shavasana, but we're going to do our Shavasana as our inversion today. So let's actually, oh, this is one of my favorites. Let's do this one. We're going to come into what's called a Tarasana, and that is instead of it, this is a Baddha Konasana. We're going to come to a Tarasana, which is a starfish pose. Our feet are going to be further out. Take your hands on top of your shins and then curl back and then try to take the top of your head in between your knees. So you're going to start to pull forward and your elbows come out to the side, pulling yourself down. And then at the bottom of that, when you can't go any further, just feel the lower back relaxing in this rounded position. And then start to pull yourself into a flatter back at the bottom. And you can do that a couple times. Round, and then come in, pull the chest forward and try to flatten that back out. Stay here for a couple breaths in that flat back position. So you're stretching that whole lower back area. And then scoop the belly, lift the chest, come all the way up. And we're gonna do our Shavasana as a inversion. And so that means we're gonna bring our legs up the wall. It's a Viparita Karani, is legs up the wall. So I'm gonna take my trusty rolled up yoga mat over here. I'm pulling it slightly away from the wall. So a couple inches away from the wall here, so that my hips have some space here. This is a really weird one. I have noticed the wider someone's hips are, the harder this is to get into, and I don't know why. So if you have narrow hips, this is going to be a little easier to get into. If you have wider hips, there's going to be more scooting around. So what you're going to do is take your hips, so I'm touching the wall with my right butt, basically. And then I'm going to roll over and take one leg up and then the other until I'm on my mat here. It's not pretty, but it's effective. So I'm trying to get my hips to touch the wall and the backs of my legs to touch the wall, and I'm a little bit raised. Obviously, if you're a little tighter in the hamstrings, you probably have to move your hips back away from the wall. So we're here. If you don't want to use that mat, if the mat or the raise under there just made that way too complicated, you don't have to. This just gives it a little bit of a slight back bend here. So my legs are rooting down into my hips though, and my hips are falling down towards the floor. The main thing is be really comfortable. If this isn't comfortable, take the mat out, just bring the hips down to the floor and put the legs up the wall, okay? Main thing is I'd love for you to have your legs on something. If you don't have a wall, hook your legs over a chair or over your couch or over the end of a bed. Okay, but we just want to try to get our legs up so we get some kind of inversion, gets the strain out of the legs for some part of the day. All right, once you're in that position, whatever position you're going to be in, your palms are going to be facing up towards the ceiling, shoulders rolled back, and then I'm coming into my closed eyes, and I'm going to try to stay here for 10 minutes. At least 5, please stay for 10. A good Shavasana is supposed to be at least 10 minutes, okay? So you're going to completely let go, eyes closed, and just release into it. And we'll do our lion's breath we've been doing. So let me make sure everybody's in some kind of relaxation pose. And you can always just lie on the floor. If it's getting your legs up, it's becoming too much work, don't worry. All right, so we're going to inhale, crunch up our nose, crunch up our fingers, crunch up our toes, and exhale, lion's breath. Ready? 2 more times. Inhale. One more. And completely let go.